John Davidson, it's a pleasure to welcome you to a new season of New York Rangers hockey.
Football finds Leach. Leach is in. He scores! Oh, baby! Oh, there's a talent show here. Oh, baby, baby!
Well, when I think of John Davidson and Sam Rosen, I think of how important they were not only to my success in New York, but also to the success the New York Rangers had when I was there. When you think of the two of them, you think of two guys who really loved the sport, loved the New York Rangers team, loved the history of the New York Rangers. And that was evident traveling around with them, with the team. Whatever city we went to, how much respect they got from the other commentators, how much instant credibility they gave the Rangers and the team.
Big boy, thanks for 20 great years.
It was a good time, big boy.
How amazing is that? The iconic broadcast team, Hall of Famer Sam Rosen, Hall of Famer John Davidson, just officially introduced today as the Rangers president. I'm merely Bill Pito. You guys take it away. It's a real honor to be out here with you guys, and thanks so much
Bill.
for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
How are you, big boy?
This is a real. I know how you feel. Inside, this is really special, John, because, and I go back to when John was a player, and I covered the Rangers for UPI Audio Network, and go into the locker room, and the guys were a little wild and crazy guys, but what a life.
Yeah.
Everything that's come, starting as a player, John, and coming here when you were 20 years old.
Yeah.
And here you are back again.
I often think about you two growing up in Brooklyn, right? A Ranger fan, a lifer, and here you are doing what you do. I used to sit go up to the booth a little bit early, and I'd stare down at the ice, nobody in the building hardly, and just say, what am I doing here? I was just a kid who grew up in Calgary who played hockey. Next thing you know, I was in St. Louis, and as I said, I had a good first year there. My second year, I was so good I got traded, and it was to the Rangers. And I came here, and I went, "Oh, what have I gotten myself into?" But once I figured it all out as a player, and how much passion there is here with sports and with the Rangers, it was phenomenal.
You had to play the game where Eddie Jockman came back as a Red Wing, and the fans are chanting, and I'm in the building, and they're chanting, Eddie, Eddie. I mean, that had to be as tough as it gets.
Well, you know, I was thinking about that today. I was asked about it, and I look back at it. A couple of things happened. First of all, Eddie was picked up by Detroit. Of course, their first game is back in the Garden. And that was really nice because the fans had a chance to say, on behalf of the Rangers, goodbye to Eddie. And that place was nuts. There was banners all over the place. I'll never forget it. He stopped, it seemed like 100 shots that night. It might have been 50. And they won. I wasn't very good. I was a wreck. And after the game, their locker room was divided by the hallway there. And he ran into me and wished me well. And talked a bit about the whole experience. That was as classy as it gets. And then I'm thinking later that was a good night. For me, a lot of people say, how'd you do that? That had to be. No, it wasn't. You learned how Ranger fans treat people they love. It was special. And it turned out to be, when you look back at it, just a great memory. Great memory.
And then 79, when you played through the injuries, came back from the injuries, I think that's when the fans really just said, we love you, John. You took that team on your back to the final.
That was fun. I didn't know how it was going to start. I was coming off the shoulder injury and got lucky early in the game against Los Angeles, game one. Then we went out there and won it. And then we beat Philadelphia. Then, of course, there was the Islanders. And the Islanders were just a great team just starting, with Denny Potvin and my buddy, Bobby Nystrom, who I played junior hockey with in Calgary. And, greatness of Trottier and Bossy and Denny Potvin, all those guys, Billy Smith. And it was phenomenal. And it was a great series. We won. The last game winning it at home, game 6, and to see the reaction by the fans, that was special. And then Montreal, and I'm sorry to say, I think about this probably even many, many years later like this, at least once a week. Whenever I run into Serge Savard, who played for Montreal. He rubs it in all the time. He just, the first thing out of his mouth, rub it in. But we won the first game. We were up in the second game, and we lost the series. And I'd love to have that chance over again as a player. Love to.
Well, now you'll have it as
Yeah,
an executive
hope so.
somewhere down the line. The years you came back, here's the thing. He's coming back now, but he's come back before. You went off and learned the broadcast business in Canada, came back, and then we hooked up in 1986.
Well, to be invited back is pretty special. I can say that. And I've always said that the network here gave me life after hockey as a player. And thank God for that, because I don't know what I would have gone and done something, but I was a lifer in this game, and this is what I've always wanted to do, is to stay in the game. I was only 29 when I retired. Sam, I remember that I was asked to do an interview with Bill Torrey down by the locker room in the hallway. It's my very first interview ever, and I got the great Bill Torrey sitting here, and I went like this. I almost had to grab it with my hand. I was so nervous, and I swear it didn't happen, but I think I chipped his teeth with the mic. It was just like this, and he was so gracious to do that and get me through it, and then we laughed a little bit on it later, and we got to know each other real well down the road in a lot of different areas.
Yeah, but when
And
you
it was
came
great.
back from Canada, you were a polished broadcaster.
Yeah, I worked a lot up there.
When they said, when Phil, who I worked with for 2 years, stepped up and became general manager, and they were deciding on who they were going to get, there was only one choice, because you, by that time, were the #1 broadcaster in hockey.
What I had done was, first of all, when you're new at this, you have to have coaching, and people helped. Pete Silverman helped me here. Phil always helped me, but John Shannon, Phil Harmon, John Shannon up in Canada, and I went back to Calgary, and I did all the Flame games, and then I did the Oiler games too up in Edmonton. It's a 3-hour drive back and forth, and then I did Hockey Night in Canada on Saturdays. So there was a lot of work. It was traveling all over the place with these teams, but you had to go through the experience. If you don't go through the experience, you don't get there. And then you have to have honest talks with your coaches or your directors and your producers, and they really helped me. And that was awesome. And I did the math. When Phil decided to step up and be general manager, and then I was going to come back here covering the Rangers and with the Islanders over there and Devils over there and Philadelphia down there, Boston not far. I was home over the 8-month period of the season, over 2 months more. In my own bed at night, so I'm going. I'm going back to New York. It's great, and it was a good decision.
And here you are back.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
For being here, Sam. Thanks so much for stopping by. We would be remiss, John and Sam, if we didn't give you our parting gift. Oh baby! MSG Network presents the Stanley Cup season of the '93-'94 New York Rangers on VHS.
I was just going to say,
you guys are big time, and you get to leave the MSG 150 with a VHS.
I was going to thank you. I was going to say I still have one of those machines.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Great to meet you. Thanks so much for all of your help today, Sam. Thanks so much for stopping by. For more great videos from the MSG 150, check out right there. And remember, our show is on Monday through Thursday, 8 to 10:30 p.m. on MSG Network and MSG Go.